So welcome everyone to the primer on film analysis. And let's first take a look at what film analysis is, why do we do it, what are the various ways of doing it, where can it go right, where can it go wrong, and what is the way we are going to follow today. So film analysis, as the word suggests, is a two-component word, film and analysis. You are analyzing the film. That's film analysis. Now, a film can be analyzed from various standpoints based upon who you are and what is your interest. A cinematographer will look at a film, let us say there is a scene in the film, look at the scene and he say, how I would have picturized it. What is the camera like? What is the lighting like? How are the actors placed? How could I have visualized and picturized this scene? His analysis of the same scene will be very different. If he sits to analyze a movie, it will be different. A musician analyzes the same movie from a different standpoint. He goes into how is music done when a tragic scene comes, when a happy scene comes, which instruments are used, how are they used. A fashion designer looks at it from a costume point of view. That in a action scene, what are the costumes like? In a romantic scene, what are the costumes like? So there are various ways in which a movie can be based upon who you are, what is your interest. One way to analyze a movie is to analyze the movie from a psychoanalytic standpoint, which is what we are going to do. That when we analyze a movie from standpoint of psychoanalysis, we ask the question that the movie is showing a story on the screen. Below that story, what is the deeper psychoanalytic story? So it's a Sherlock Holmes job that we are presented with certain things. And from what is presented, we try to discover what is hidden. And that we are able to move from what is presented to what is hidden. The bridge between the two is psychoanalytic. If this psychoanalytic theory was to be taken out, we cannot make sense of what is presented means at a deeper level. So we always ask this question. This is the story of the movie as presented on the screen. What is the deeper psychoanalytic story? And that is how we do film analysis. Obviously, when I say film analysis, I use the word film to cover the entire audio-visual spectrum. So, just as film analysis we can also do television serial analysis. We can also do a drama analysis. We can extend it even to a novel. And then we enter into the broader area of psychoanalysis in dialogue. That if psychoanalysis is a basic theory of the mind, then obviously it would play some part at the root of the entire area of humanity and social sciences. So we can do an interface of psychoanalysis and literature, psychoanalysis and mythology, psychoanalysis and films, psychoanalysis and management. Any area of humanities and social sciences we can take and we can cross it with psychoanalysis. Because we believe that it is a mother science in the area of the mind. So one way to look at reality is this, to divide the whole of it into the physical reality, the life zone and the mind zone. That's one way to picture reality. And if we picture it this way, then at all the three levels we have one mother science. When we look at the inanimate reality, physics becomes the mother science. When we look at the life zone, biology becomes the mother science. When we look at the mind zone, then psychology becomes the mother science. And within psychology, there are various ways of looking at the human mind, and one of the ways is of psychoanalysis. So in some sense, psychoanalysis becomes the mother science in the zone of the mind. And if that is true, then obviously this mother science can be intersected with, crossed with, right, in an interdisciplinary mode with any of the sciences which fall in that zone. So one of the elements that falls in that zone is films, and this is what we are doing. As I said, we can extend it to TV serials also. So last time I did a movie, Skyfall. This time we are doing a movie, Birds. And next time we will be doing a TV serial, one episode of a TV serial. It's a Sherlock Holmes episode. It's called Scandal in Bohemia. So it's a episode of a Sherlock Holmes series. Obviously, it's a story of Sherlock Holmes. And there we can see how we can apply psychoanalysis to look at the deeper story even in a television episode. And you can extend it, as I said, to novels, to mythology, to management, realm of areas. Now, film analysis can be done in a variety of ways. One way is to analyze the mind of the creator of the art. So if you look at movie as an art product, then there is a creator behind. The creator can be thought of to be the director or the script writer, and whoever is the creator, from the movie we can move to his mind. That this is the artistic output of a mind. What is in the unconscious of that mind? Because there is no way that artistic output can be divorced from the unconscious of the same mind. In fact, much of art has a huge amount of involvement of the unconscious. And that is why when you try to manufacture art consciously and cognitively, it doesn't move you. Like if you say, if you sit with a piece of paper and say, what does it all take to make a movie? So you will say, put in 5 scenes of action, 5 scenes of romance, 5 scenes of comedy, 5 scenes of tragedy. And you make that fusion, that you make that recipe. Throw in a spice of this, throw in a spice of this. And if you try to artificially manufacture it, won't move. But if you sit with a piece of paper and you are deeply moved emotionally, as you visualize that, as you imagine that, and you develop the characters going into the characters, it gives a very different feel of the same art. That is why it's very difficult to cognitively manufacture something without the involvement of the unconscious. Reverse way, if there is a good art product manufactured, you can always go into the unconscious of the mind which has manufactured it. So here what we are doing is, we are taking the art product and the producer of the art product together and doing film analysis to move from the film to the unconscious of the producer, be it the director or the scriptwriter. That's one way of doing it. Now, second way of doing it is to treat the film as what we call an independent text. Independent text meaning it's independent of the creator. We don't involve the creators. We don't go into the script writer, the director, what was their childhood, what was their background, why did they create such a product. We don't go into that. We treat the product as independent of everybody else, and within the world of the product, we do psychoanalysis. So there are many ways of doing it. We can analyze the characters and just do psychoanalysis of each of the characters. We can analyze the story and just do analysis of the story. We can analyze the movement that happens in certain scenes. So we can take any approach to do that kind of an analysis. Second component comes here, whether we treat the film as associated with the creators or we treat the film as an independent text. In either of the situations, whatever path we choose, the analysis depends upon the school of psychoanalysis. So let's say I decide to approach the film analysis taking the film as an independent text. So forget the script writer, director, everybody. We are now only with the movie. Now I can analyze it using the Freudian school, which will give a particular kind of interpretation. I can analyze the same using the Kleinian school, a very different interpretation. I can analyze the same using a Gaussian school, a very different interpretation. I can do it using the Lacanian school, another interpretation. So this brings us to the point which interpretation to use. And this creates a point of choice, a point of knowledge, and also a point of experience. With experience, you know which school fits best for analyzing this movie, and a lot of it is intuition, difficult to articulate and put it into a standardized, manualized format. It's difficult to make a manual of film analysis. Just as when a patient comes, we don't, I mean, it's not easy initially to find out, will the Freudian school work on this patient? Will the Kleinian school work? How should therapy proceed? What should be the emphasis and inclination of the therapist? Over a period of time, you realize intuitively, okay, on this patient, this school will suit better, or even within the session, you will see the schools. That for first 10 minutes, you are with more of Freudian stance. Another 10 minutes, you are more with a Kleinian stance. Overall, you are in a cohesion stance. So that is where the experience comes in, that slowly the integration and application becomes intuitive. But initially, it's an effort, a conscious effort to make out what will work. So that is one important element of film analysis, that the same film analyzed by different schools will end up in different. Today, what are we going to do? Today, we will do two things. One, we will analyze the film as an independent text, and two, we will be using the Kleinian method, a regular Kleinian method, to analyze the book. So within Kleinian method also, there are two or three different versions. We will use the regular Kleinian method, the most conventional, to analyze them. So we'll be treating the movie as an independent text, and we'll be analyzing using the Kleinian, the regular Kleinian. So this is broadly what we are going to do. Now there is a disclaimer here. One can raise a counterpoint that often uh, movies are made based upon what the market demands. It may not have much to do with the unconscious of the creator. The unconscious, the creator is forced to pedal to the market demand. Now that is definitely a very disclaimer, that in a movie there would be elements which come less from the unconscious and more from the market. Which is to say, it comes more from the unconscious of the customers. It's still coming from the unconscious, but the unconscious of the customers, not the producers. So this is one disclaimer, that obviously this is one shortcoming of what we are doing. Second, is it true that we may read psychoanalysis where none exists? And obviously that's always it's a professional hazard. That once you are trained into psychoanalysis, you may read it where none exists. So this also is the second limitation. I'll just give an example, and then we'll go to the movie. There was a scholar who did a extensive write-up, almost like a thesis, on a Satyajit Ray movie. And the title of in the Satyajit Ray movie, there are many shots where a stone is in one corner of the screen. So when you look at the shot, the stone is at one corner of the screen. And many times it repeats. So this man did his scholarly work. The symbolism of the stone in the Song of the Road. His film was Pathar Panchali. So Pathar Panchali was the movie, and in that movie this scene appears many times. The stone appears at a corner in the frame. So this scholar did his work. The symbolism of the stone in Satyajit Ray's movie, The Song of the Road, Pathar Panchali, Song of the Road. And many years later, somebody asked Satyajit Ray, what is the symbolism of the stone? Why does it come so many times in the movie? And he said, there is no symbolism. I was tired of it. I wrote to the municipality many times to remove it. They just would not remove it. So I just shot it as it. Now, there was nothing psychoanalytic about it, but we read it. If we knew the Satyajit Ray story, we would not have imposed this. We would not have imposed psychoanalysis on that element. Okay, there was nothing psychoanalytic about it. It was just a compulsion. And yet, somebody does not know, he would say great significance into it, and he would theorize about it and create a narrative about it and roll out an extensive theorization based upon it. So this also is a professional hazard, that we may see psychoanalysis where none exists. So with these two disclaimers as our limitations, we will go into the film analysis. And first we'll start by watching the movie Birds. And thank you so much. We'll watch the movie Birds, and there's one very important element about this movie. Two important elements, which I'll come to later again. Most movies are made for the market, but there is a niche segment of producers, directors, screenwriters who write psychologically sophisticated movies, who make psychologically sophisticated movies. There are two types of these people. One, who make psychologically sophisticated movies, but they are screened only in the art festivals. They are not box office hits. So there is kind of a divide. The box office directors and the intellectual art type directors. There are some who are able to bridge this gap and who are able to make movies which are psychologically sophisticated, at the same time also box office successes. Now, two of them in Hollywood are very important. We'll come to it slightly later when we go to film analysis, but just to make a mention, Woody Allen and Alfred Hitchcock. Both directors in Hollywood were psychologically very sophisticated. Both of them went into psychoanalytic psychotherapy for years as patients. Both of them were well read in psychoanalysis, and both of them had a knack of the market. So they knew how to make psychoanalytically oriented movies and yet appeal to a broader mass so that the film still makes profit. Many people would say if you go into psychoanalytic movies, you enter into a loss. You get an award, but you enter into a financial loss. But this is not true about the two of them. Both of them made not only good movies which are good at box office, but even memorable. Audience wants to see it again and again. You can't stop at one. You will always revisit Woody Allen and Alfred Hitchcock movies. So this is an Alfred Hitchcock movies, and Alfred Hitchcock made psychologically very sophisticated movies like Psycho, Vertigo. Woody Allen made very sophisticated movies on involving psychoanalysis. This is the strangest of Alfred Hitchcock movies, where the events don't really involve human beings as much as it involves animals, non-human elements, the birds. So let us watch the movie. After that, we will have some refreshments and come back to this.